Is BTC the cargo cult of crypto? Stick around and we're going to show you how its hype is hollow in this episode of The Centbee Show.
Woo!
Let's talk Bitcoin.
Yeah.
We're here to bring light to the cult of Bitcoin.
Well, that's what we're doing every week.
Are we winning hearts?
I think we win in the right ones. It's only a matter of time where we actually win everyone because, like we say, our blockchain is for everyone.
If you do the right things, if you follow the rituals, then maybe your faith will make things happen.
Make an offering to the gods.
Are you going to do a rain dance? A crypto rain dance?
Make it rain, yo.
Make it rain cryptos.
Yeah.
Hello everybody, welcome to the Centbee Show. I'm your host, Lorien Gamaroff, and my co-host is Centbee cult member, Kage Ntshingila. Kage, welcome to the show.
What's good, Mr. G?
I'm good. How are you doing?
I'm good, man. Can't complain. My favorite day of the week.
Yes, and we are now on episode 51.
Yeah.
Which means in one more episode, we've done an entire year's worth of the Centbee Show.
That's a big shout out to us, man. I'm actually proud, man. We've been doing it for that long.
Yes, it's happened quick.
Yeah.
You know, time has flown, but we're still at it. Feels like we never run out of subjects. I thought after a couple shows tackling the main points around Bitcoin and crypto and that whole thing that we would eventually run out of things to say.
No way, Mr. G. There's plenty to be said for the fact that we're still trying to push the utilities out of it. So until the entire world actually uses BSV, that's when we can rest. But till then, we're soldiering on.
That's right. For as long as there's crypto, there's going to be a job to do.
Yeah.
Because for as long as there's crypto, there are going to be people out there believing in it. They're going to be persuaded by the cultish symbols and rituals of crypto. As with every cult, it always ends up badly. People, they're not fixed on the truth of something.
Yeah.
They are fixed on some kind of fantasy.
Yeah.
And we all know what happens to fantasies. If there's no foundation, they just crumble.
They do, Mr. G. And also, I guess it's also us maybe just pushing a focus to, you know, the cult leaders who actually motivate and feed people with misinformation just to capture them in their beliefs.
That's right. There are so many cult leaders in crypto today. We've highlighted some of them on the show.
Yeah.
Max Kaiser, Michael Saylor. These guys are out there shilling the dream.
The chief
prophets of doom.
Literally.
With every cult, it's not really about what you do or the facts. It's really just about faith.
Yeah.
And we've spoken about Bitcoin being a religion, but actually it's more like a cult.
It is. And it's specifically a cargo cult, Mr. G.
So that's what we're going to be diving in today. We know that there's this cult out there called the cargo cult. And it's really interesting. You know, it's not based on some kind of mystical thing.
Yeah.
It's based on events that happened in history. And what do you know? There's an entire religion now dedicated to the gods sending down gifts from the skies onto this little island.
Yeah.
There's a lot of people out there who really believe it, at least a lot of people on the island. It seems that what we have in terms of BTC is something very similar. People are believing that if they do certain things, if they say certain things, the wealth is going to come out of the sky and pour down on them.
Manna from heaven.
A manna from heaven. That's exactly what I was looking for there.
Yeah.
It's manna.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we're going to be discussing this topic. The topic is how BTC, and crypto for that matter, is exactly like a cargo cult. So I guess we got to dive in and describe and discuss what the heck is a cargo cult.
Let's do that, Mr. G, because you spoke of history and we really need to tap into that to understand certain concepts that we compare BTC to. So what is really cargo cult?
There was a specific island. This particular island was very interesting because in the early 40s during World War II, Americans were fighting the Japanese and they would create these army bases on the islands. Yeah. And a lot of the islands had tribes that had never seen Westerners, modern equipment, radios.
It was all foreign.
Canned goods, tools, airplanes that flew around.
That was magic.
That was completely magic. The only way they could understand the islanders, the natives who were living on the islands, these modern people coming in with all these innovations and technology, they'd never seen anything like it. They thought it must come from heaven. Yeah. So what happened was during the World War I, they had these soldiers coming to this island and they would see all these planes coming in, landing, dropping off cargo, sometimes cargo being thrown out with a parachute.
Just observing that as a native, Mr. G, that's magic. This big machine flying over our heads. That's why I'm saying I'm observing it more as a human being, because even if I were to place myself in that era, that would be fascinating in a way, because I've never seen it before. You know? Yeah.
Yes. So there was this island. While the soldiers were there, they would give out some of the equipment and some of the food and things that they would receive. And then, obviously, after the war, they left. And the people were on this island, and they said, how do we get this to happen again? How do we get these planes to come back here? What did these soldiers do? They had an airstrip, and they had a tower, and they had radar dishes, and they had aeroplanes. So maybe what we can do is we can go and build those same things and do the same things, march around, stand at attention, look to the sky, and maybe what can happen is those planes will return and they'll bring those gifts back.
The other tribes that actually embarked in building statues in terms of paying tribute to their gods or their deities.
The planes were to be used to attract the cargo planes coming back. So it wasn't so much just a symbol that would be there to remind you of something. You know, a statue is there to remind you of a person. You remember it and you think about it, you meditate on it, or you pray to it. These items were used to try and attract the cargo back. They were doing all the rituals because they thought by doing that, the cargo would return.
And those rituals were rituals that they observed from years.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So they were following the same steps. They thought if it worked before, it can happen again.
Yeah.
And of course, there was a very important figure for these islanders. There was apparently a man who arrived on the island one day, and they called him John From.
Yeah.
You can imagine, you know, he must have come along and said, "Hi, I'm John from America," or something. And so they called him John From. And he said, "We're going to be bringing cargo, we're going to be bringing planes here." And that's what happened. Obviously, he must have been sent to the island to warn the people. He spoke in their language, and he said, "We're going to be bringing planes, we're going to be building roads, there's going to be vehicles and stuff." What happened was, the soldiers arrived. And so now there is this figure as well that they revere, this mystical John From, who they are waiting to return. Although I think they think he lives in the volcano on the island. But they have this figure now, this mysterious figure, John From, who prophesied there would be soldiers and there would be people coming, bringing cargo, and that happened during the war.
That almost sounds like an Avatar plot.
Yes. Obviously, the islanders weren't destroyed by it.
Yeah.
They benefited greatly from it. And so to this day now, they've developed this whole religion around this person, John From, who prophesied that there would be cargo. Cargo came, so he was speaking the truth. And so now they believe that this is what could happen again. They are now going through the same rituals. They're trying to do the same things to bring back that cargo that can rescue the people from their hardships. This is now the religion, the cargo cult religion. So it's quite incredible.
It is.
But also just shows you how amazing this world is, where there are people out there who still haven't been exposed to modern technology and all that. What's important about the story, and this is what we're going to be touching on today, is how similar this cargo cult is to the crypto community, and how people in BTC have pretty much the same kind of thinking when it comes to Bitcoin BTC.
Yeah.
They think that if they just do the rituals, if they say the words, if they follow the traditions that they've been following up to this point for the last 15 years, let's say, in Bitcoin's history, that the wealth will come, that their lives will be improved.
It's like putting empty pots on a stove and hoping there will be a stew after a while. You know?
Yes, of course, every single thing that people in BTC do today, there can be a direct parallel between it and a cargo cult with the figure that arrives, Satoshi Nakamoto.
Yeah.
And all people have to do is say and do the same things that have been happening for the last 15 years. Talk about decentralization, talk about hodling, and what will happen is that they will then be benefited and they will become rich.
Yeah.
And so we want to now tackle this whole parallel between cargo cults and BTC, because when you dig into it, which is what we're going to do now, you're going to find that there is very little difference in terms of the cargo cult mentality, believing in something and believing that if you just do the right stuff, if you follow the rites and the traditions and the rituals, that riches will come. And we're going to tackle that today.
So yeah, Mr. G, I mean, we're going to be talking about the surface level features. The islanders, they built the fake airstrip, the planes and stuff like that with the hope that cargo would come. How do we compare that now to the BTC side?
Yes, so exactly, that's right. What those islanders were doing was that they were mimicking the same things that were going on with the soldiers.
Whether it's the drilling,
That's right. They would go out there, they would write USA on their chests, and they would have poles, and they would go marching in order and step up and down the airstrip, and they would build these dishes and control towers. So these are all just the surface level aspects of what it takes to have a functioning airstrip with real cargo arriving. By just having a symbol up there, the symbol of a control tower. It doesn't work, there's nothing going on, but by just having that symbol there that they can focus on, they thought that was sufficient to be able to then bring the value. And BTC has exactly the same thing. BTC also has symbols, ideas that they are focusing on, believing that if they can just keep on worshipping those symbols, then the value is going to come.
Because also, Mr. G, on that note, if you look at the fact that BTC, them using that ticker makes them seem like they are the original. So them having to connote themselves to the original ticker is like the symbolical thing for them to say, this is the real one. But
exactly,
we know that it's not.
Very good point. One of the important things when the Bitcoin version split is that there was a big fight about who gets to keep the ticker symbol. We often talk about Bitcoin being BTC and Bitcoin SV or BSV. And you're right. A very important thing when it came to the splits of the different versions of Bitcoin was, well, who gets to keep the ticker symbol? And of course, the majority of people around in crypto, they wanted the altered version of Bitcoin with segregated witness and all that. They said, we need to retain the symbol, the BTC symbol.
Because it holds more power. And
it did, of course. When people looked on the exchanges, they don't know what crypto is what. They just look at symbols. At least when you invest in Apple, it's Apple or Microsoft. You're not looking at the symbols so much on the stock exchange, like AAPT or MSFT or anything like that. Those symbols just represent something. And for the BTC community, they didn't care about really what it represented. They just wanted the symbol itself. So that's a very good surface level symbol. It was a literal symbol, the BTC symbol. That's what people are trading. They're trading the BTC symbol.
Basically a losing battle for them if they had to come up with the new ticker and stuff like that. I think BSV would be actually far off where it is now.
The only reason BTC has the price it has is because people believe it's Bitcoin. And they don't understand the technical structures of these things. So that's why BSV is so low value right now.
So if we were to switch the symbols, that's literally what would happen, because the value
or price rather, we keep saying price.
Sorry, price. You're right, Mr. G. Literally, that's what would happen, because at this point we would say the price is attached to the symbol.
That's right. 100%. With BTC, that is 100% the
case.
But
if we were to switch it in this instance and still attach it to the symbol, but take the BTC symbol to BSV,
everyone would trade BSV. They would say this is the real Bitcoin, right? It's got the symbol.
Not even trade, Mr. G, but more it being utilized appropriately, because we know that it's more about peer-to-peer cash than the trading and all of these things that BTCers are pushing. And another symbol that they stick to very much is the 21 million limit of coins. Scarcity.
The scarcity symbol, I mean, that is an important aspect of Bitcoin. Of course, it does have economic underpinnings and all that, but that's definitely a symbol. The decentralization aspect of BTC, they want maximum decentralization. They don't understand that decentralization is a tool to achieve certain things, like a peer-to-peer cash system, a network that is resilient. There's no central point of failure. So these are surface level symbols that BTC have taken upon themselves as something that is very important. The symbol of BTC itself, the things like the 21 million cap, the concept of decentralization, and they think that if they just keep talking about these concepts, if they keep on trying to strive for decentralization, then they are going to eventually have something that just automatically creates value out of it. You can immediately say, anyone could look at that and say, well, decentralization and a scarce supply on its own cannot create value. But these are symbols. In the same way that those towers were symbols that couldn't create cargo coming out of the sky, BTC has its own symbols.
I agree with you, Mr. G, because if we were to look at it, there's clearly lack of understanding completely, because we spoke about the islanders building all these structures with the hope they would receive something in return, being the cargo. but there's no understanding at all there. At all.
Of where cargo comes from, how it actually gets transported.
Exactly.
For them, it's just about creating the superficial view, image, perspective, whatever. If you just create the superficial look of it, then it's going to happen.
So yeah, Ms. G, when we spoke about the symbolism, there's also acts that also contribute to the whole belief system of theirs. And there's rituals that they do that mimic the soldiers, whether it's the drilling or whether it's just marching on their fake airstrips. So in the BTC side, how would we actually look at it?
The rituals that they would do in the cargo cult, like you say, is they would try and do exactly what the soldiers were doing.
Yeah.
If they get dressed up and they march around with their guns, their fake guns, whatever the soldiers were doing on the strips, that's going to be part of it. We've got the symbols, we've got the rituals, and of course BTC has its own rituals, things that they adhere to and that they talk about and that they do all the time. Of course, hodling, this is another thing about having a cult, or at least this faith-based perspective on BTC. They think that all you got to do is you just got to hodl it. You just got to keep your bitcoins. You just got to stack your sats, buy Bitcoin, sit on it, and don't do anything about it. And as long as you stay true to that idea of not spending your BTC, not doing anything with it, just hodling it, that is going to be sufficient for you to be able to accumulate enormous wealth. So, of course, this hodling mentality.
It's quite funny.
Yes, it's sad. It's just amazing as well when you think about it. Like, okay, if this network is going to be valuable, how can it be that the way to make it more valuable is by not using it?
Yeah, so it's like, this is cake, don't eat the cake.
Yes, the cake is just there for looking at.
Just look at it.
And you'll be full and feel happy about it. Yes,
as long as it's there.
Yes. So, of course, they stick to this hodl ritual. They also look forward to the Bitcoin halvings, and they celebrate the Bitcoin halvings.
That's actually quite a big one, because it's like, what, every 4 years?
Every 4 years, it's a big deal, this big celebration. And what halving is really is that every 4 years or so, the rewards that the Bitcoin miners earn when they mine transactions for every block is halved. It started off with 50 Bitcoins for every block. And over the years, it's now gotten down to just over 3 Bitcoins per block. And so and in another 3 years, I know the halving was last year, I think it was 23, something like that.
Was it, I think, early this year?
Was it early this year?
This year, yeah.
It's got another 4 years to go. And if you just follow that ritual of waiting for that halving, then of course magically your Bitcoin is going to grow in value. These are the kinds of rituals. And of course there are other kinds of rituals, going to conferences and things. Just like with cargo cults, if the BTC community follow the symbols, then magically the gods are going to bless them with great wealth.
Especially with the conferences, Mr. G, because cults, they usually deal in numbers. They like numbers. So definitely that's where you'll find them, because that's where it's easy to push a narrative, especially for the BTCers to follow through and believe. So yeah, definitely conferences are like the gathering for them.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's the temples.
The temples, yeah. So yeah, Ms. G, I mean, we've spoken about the islanders with their superficial adoption, building empty shells of planes from wooden stuff and straws. But we clearly established there's no understanding of innovation there. The technology that's involved in just building a plane.
That's right. The planes don't take off.
They don't.
They don't fly.
Mean, literally, they just
sit there.
But how do we compare that to the BTC side? Because it's quite clear, like, what the islanders did. But
yes. If you just think about BTC, we've already spoken about hodling.
Yeah.
It really, when it comes to BTC, you're not supposed to do anything with it. Now, those islanders, they created the environment, they created what looked like aeroplanes, what looked like control towers, but none of them actually worked.
Yeah.
The most important step, once you've gotten that far and realizing that if you want cargo to arrive, you need an airstrip and you need airplanes, and you realize now that I've built my airplane but nothing's happening, what do I do next? What you've got to do is you've got to start making those planes fly. You've got to get them off the ground, and you've got to go and travel to a faraway place, fetch some cargo and bring it back.
Proper utility.
So innovation is very important. And these islanders don't get that. They've just created the symbols and the rituals, but they haven't actually developed any real practical tools that can get them what they want. So the analogy between BTC and the cargo cult is very clear here, because what BTC have is they've got a ledger, they've got a blockchain, but you can't transact on it, it's too expensive, and they haven't done anything innovative. They haven't built any applications or any tools that make it easier to use BTC. The fees, for example, on BTC are so high that you can't use it. And so
there's no point in using it.
There isn't. Plus, a very important ritual is hodling. And so there's no innovation happening to make BTC actually deliver value.
So it's like saying that plane is better off not flying.
The plane is sitting on the runway and it looks nice, but don't use it. Just let it sit there and wealth is going to come. That's exactly what BTC think. They say, there's your crypto. You've got it on your wallet. You've got it in your hardware wallet or something. And now you just leave it. Instead of going and making it useful or making it cheap or making it fast, bringing new innovation to this whole idea so you can actually create value. Right now, you've got this little empty shell of a crypto made out of grass and sticks, and it's sitting on the runway, and it's not budging, it's not moving, it's just disintegrating, and there's no value coming out of the sky because of it. So what you've got to do now is you've got to figure out how to make those planes fly. If you want that plane to bring you cargo, you've got to build an engine, and you have to get a pilot to learn how to fly that thing. And you've got to take off and you've got to go and fetch the cargo. BTC don't want to go there. They don't want to make their crypto useful or valuable. They just are saying, no, we've got the concept, the symbol, and we're doing the rituals, but now we're not going to bring any innovation. And we're going to let it sit in the hardware wallet as though it's on a little dusty airstrip in the middle of the island. At least no one can come and ruin your airplanes or steal your airplanes there, because you're locked away and no one's going to touch it. But those airplanes aren't going to fly. They're not going to be bringing you anything. And that's exactly the same issue with BTC.
That's actually quite a dope analogy, Mr. G. I didn't look at it that way, because it's so on point. And that's literally what's happening that side. There's no true innovation. There's no utility being motivated. It's just charts, prices, and conferences.
Yes, just go and sit your crypto on the runway and pray and hodl and whatever. There's going to be canned food coming out of the sky.
BTC is a scam, yo. Guys, remember, this is the real BSV plug. So yeah, remember to plug your friends, your grandpa, your grandma, everyone. And remember to check out the app on the stores, yeah? Show some love. Mobile money on fire. So yeah, Ms. G, we spoke about BTC involving charts and stuff. But the reason also I see so much like following or cult following into the BTC space is because it's using all the right tools. There's charts, you see it on the news, social media, the influencers. So how is it not legit? They're doing all the right stuff.
Yes, it looks like they're doing all the right stuff. If you just think about traditional financial markets, they've got exchanges,
everything,
and you can go onto the charts and you can
buy, sell.
Exactly, you can put limit orders in there, stop orders. You can do technical analysis, and so on the surface, again, it looks very much like this is a legit thing.
I swear it is, Mr. G. Like I'm saying, if we check the news now, you'll see that it's spoken about. So definitely it must be legit.
And big players. It's not just a bunch of enthusiasts anymore. Now you've got guys like Larry Fink at BlackRock talking about it, and even the banks.
The big boys.
They're talking about it. So on the surface, it just seems like there's so much that legitimizes the idea of BTC. What gets most people is they think, if these big guys are getting into it, if guys like Michael Saylor are spending literally billions of dollars investing in Bitcoin, all these influencers, even Donald Trump, Kennedy Jr., Robert Kennedy Jr., these guys are all talking about it, and you see it on the news. Crypto markets are put onto the financial networks. And so it seems like, they got all the right tools, they're doing the right stuff. And again, this just follows the whole idea of the ritual of BTC. If they follow the same ritualistic practices, if they treat Bitcoin like a financial asset, and they believe in it, and they trade it, and they get institutions to invest in it and people to invest in it, then surely it must be valuable, because everybody's doing the stuff. They're doing it all correctly. They're drawing the right technical analysis. They're applying the textbook to these things, but they don't think about what is that all based on. Again, the idea of a foundation is very important here. If you want to have something that has value and that lasts and that you can build on top of, if you can build value, then that's something that can bring real value to something.
Yeah.
But if you're just doing all the stuff, if you're just doing all the ritual practices, how is that bringing value into the system?
Yeah.
So there again, you can just see how cargo cult, by doing all the ritualistic practices, and BTC doing ritualistic practices, surely it means that there's going to be value created underneath. They're almost thinking of it a top-down approach.
Yeah.
You know, instead of there being value and then these rituals developing on top of the value, it's rather let's create the ritual and hopefully the value will come up spontaneously, hopefully, because we're doing all the right stuff. That's a very important thing in terms of BTC right now, is that it looks legit on the surface.
Yeah.
And people are fooled by that. And yet, of course, they don't question where is the underlying value.
Yeah, because I mean, if you're going to only be focusing on technical analysis and not the fundamentals, clearly shows a flaw there.
Yes, that's technical analysis. Technical analysis is voodoo.
It is.
You know, it's got nothing to do with any reality.
It is.
Just because pictures chart looks like one thing one day doesn't mean necessarily that it's going to look the same another day. You know, it depends on real world activities, real world things.
Yeah.
That's what moves charts. But of course, in BTC, there is no real world anything. There is no fundamental basis for any value.
Yeah.
And so technical analysis is the only thing that they've got. And amazingly, that's what makes it work.
Yeah.
Because there are no fundamentals impacting the price of BTC.
Yeah.
All you have are people on exchanges drawing the pictures, doing the analysis, and trading the charts.
Yeah. We've spoke about how, you know, the islanders have this external reliance on other people, basically bringing the cargo. So it's never on them.
Yeah.
And I can also see it like when it comes to BTC, how it relates. They literally have the same attributes, I may say.
Yes, the people in BTC are not trying to build the value themselves.
Nah.
They're not trying to create the cargo.
Nah.
They just are doing all the rituals and symbols.
That's enough.
And they're hoping that external forces are going to be doing all that work for them.
Yeah.
Like you say, they've done enough.
Yeah.
And when you look at BTC, there are a lot of external forces that BTC people are waiting for to be able to pump their bags. And we've mentioned Donald Trump. He went and pumped bags at the Bitcoin conference in Nashville.
And he's one big force.
That was critical for BTC people because they depend on governments legitimizing crypto and allowing people to use it and all that sort of thing. They think that if governments say, okay, everybody, crypto is legal, go for it, you guys can do whatever you want, all you can eat crypto, green light, they feel like that's finally going to open it up to the world, and then there's going to be millions and billions of people who come in and start buying Bitcoin, and all that stash that you've got on your cold wallet is going to pump. And also, of course, institutional investors. There's a huge reliance on these guys. That's why guys like Michael Saylor are just the great prophets and heroes of crypto and BTC, because people in BTC, and this is the whole point of the Ponzi, really, that is BTC, is that it's got nothing to do with creating wealth. It's got to do with other people buying your Bitcoin at a higher value than you paid for it, higher price than you paid for it.
That really sounds like a Ponzi.
It is a Ponzi. I mean, there is no value creation in BTC. The only way your BTC can go up in value is if somebody else pays a higher price. And of course, the only reason they're going to pay a higher price is because they think somebody else is going to pay a higher price than that.
The bigger fool.
Yes. So there's the great fool. So we've got this huge reliance on government forces, of course, institutional investors, BlackRock, banks buying huge amounts of BTC so that the value goes up even higher. Because, of course, it would be much nicer instead of just your mom and pop buying a couple coins here and there. It would be great if BlackRock can come in and buy $1 trillion worth of BTC tomorrow. Suddenly everybody's rich. I mean, that is the only hope that they have, is that the institutional investor, they keep calling it, the insurance companies or companies who are investing in assets will come in and start allocating a lot of that investment into BTC, and people think that, or at least hope, that's what's going to pump their bags. And then, of course, they are depending so much on the social media influencers, the celebrities. Every time, if Elon Musk would tweet about Dogecoin, the Doge community went bananas. They loved
crazy.
it. So they are not thinking about creating value. They think that the value is going to come from outside. The gods are going to be pleased by their hodling, their dedication to it.
The BTC gods.
There's the BTC gods. They are just hoping and praying that those institutions are going to start buying. The governments are going to be giving thumbs up. The social media influencers are going to be pumping. The celebrities are going to be pumping. All that is what is going to create price increases for BTC. There is no business that's going to come along and say, wow, we've created this great innovation that now makes BTC so useful for us.
They're still struggling with Lightning.
There is no hope
Nothing
on BTC becoming a useful thing that actually can generate wealth.
Yeah.
This is a zero-sum game. In other words, wealth has to be redistributed. Wealth has to come from somebody else for you to be able to make money, and it moves. It's not that value is being created, it's just being distributed. So this is the hope, just like those cargo cult members, hoping that there is an external force out there that will bring them the good times. That is what they're hoping for. In the same way, BTC are hoping that there's big players out there that are going to bring them the good times, and all they're going to do is sit back on the beach and wait for it to come.
That was quite clear, Mr. G. You guys, remember, no rain dance is going to save you. So, yeah, remember to explore with Centbee. Send your BSV to your wallet. Just explore the power of BSV with Centbee, guys. Mobile money on fire. I think it's simplistic just to look at it from the islanders just building planes. But we need to look at it like in depth of how they lacked just the mere understanding of building a plane, strips and stuff like that. It's quite technical.
Yeah,
you know?
Exactly. They didn't know what was inside those planes. They just saw this outward appearance.
Yeah.
They didn't understand this complexity of the engines and all that stuff that takes making an airplane.
It's crazy.
And so they just lacked understanding.
Yeah.
They had an overly simplistic view of what makes cargo come from the sky.
Yeah.
They saw the superficial aspects of it, and they went and mimicked it. They created what looked similar, like an airplane, but they had no understanding about what it takes to build an airplane. And that again is BTC in a nutshell. They've got this concept. They think that, okay, we've got this scarce supply, and people got rich in the past. People just bought Bitcoin, and then they bought Lambos.
So I guess that's also one event that contributed to this belief, because for them it would be easy to want it as a pattern.
Yes, it happened in the past. So maybe it'll happen again. It's complete misunderstanding. They don't understand also, very importantly, and BTC I'm talking about, the whole economics of Bitcoin. They don't understand what it takes to build value. They've got this very superficial understanding about supply of this thing. The BTC has a limited supply, and they say that's sufficient for there to be value, because now you can't inflate it. You know, the usual things that people talk about Bitcoin. There's no inflation, there's no manipulation. We've got all the superficial aspects of this thing. We've got a limited supply. We've got the charts. We are doing all the trading. We've got the social media influencers talking about it and educating people. So what's going on? Where's the value? Surely it's going to come. And they have a very strong belief in this. They're waiting for this to happen, but they don't understand the reality of building a system that can create value, that can be useful to people. They just have this very superficial understanding of what's going on.
It's really superficial, Mr. G, because, I mean, if we talk of all these symbols that they are pushing forward, it makes them look like they are understanding what they are talking about. Because if we talk about decentralization as an example, they've literally went their own way about the definition of what it truly is. They had again that religious idea, which is that BTC is meant to be decentralized in a way that makes it impossible for there to be government oversight and regulatory oversight and law enforcement. So they have taken on this religious tenet of now trying to create maximum decentralization. And they've stuck to this thing. They've just completely forgotten about what it takes to build an economy. What it takes to build value inside an economy. They've got
just the veneer of something.
Yeah.
And when you scratch below the surface, you just realize it's just this empty boondoggle. A boondoggle is something that you build that ends up having no purpose. It doesn't fulfill anything. It's a waste of time.
Yeah.
And so they've got this thing that they're just looking at the surface and saying, well, it looks shiny, it looks beautiful, it follows the rules around sound money. Now, surely we just got to go for it. So that is the problem. Lack of understanding.
Yeah.
And all these people out there that you watch when you go onto a crypto channel, and these guys sound so confident. We know that at the end of the day, those confidence people, those confidence men or con men, they sound confident, they look confident, they're using all the tools, they're showing you all the charts, they sound so impressive. And the problem is that most people, when it comes to Bitcoin, they don't understand it. And this is just normal, average people. Most people don't understand Bitcoin, and that's just a fact. Satoshi Nakamoto had a problem. The reason why we went off the rails and ended up with BTC is because people totally misunderstood Bitcoin.
Yeah.
Satoshi wasn't around in the early days to keep people on track and say, no, this is what he meant by Bitcoin. He just disappeared. He hoped when he left that people would have gotten it.
To be honest, Mr. G, I think that's also a flaw from his end, because it's a bit naive to assume that your idea would be easily received or understood in a way that it's supposed to.
That's right. He obviously had a wealth of understanding and a wealth of expertise and a wealth of knowledge.
Yeah, big time.
I mean, he understood so many different things that couldn't just be passed on in terms of, here's the source code, here's the database, here's a few forum posts. All right, guys, go for it.
Yeah.
I think he put too much stock into the community when he thought, okay, guys, I've explained it well enough, take it over and go with it.
Yeah.
Nobody understood it enough. And that's why we ended up deviating for the last 15 years.
Definitely, Mr. G. If we look at this subject alone, there's far more deeper subjects that as human beings we easily deviate because we assume we have a certain level of understanding. But I guess it's with time that it unveils itself that we actually never had even a tiny drop of understanding.
Yes, although, of course, with BSV and the BSV community and the BSV Association and the Centbee show, we are trying to enlighten the people up on Satoshi's true vision.
That's what I'm talking about! That's why he's the MVP! That's why he's the GOAT! The GOAT!
We are correcting Satoshi's mistake of disappearing.
Oh, so he came back. He's fixing his mistakes.
Yeah, but come back to this chaos, Mr. G.
Chaos.
It's chaotic.
Yeah. That's the problem, is misunderstanding what Bitcoin is, and also the deeper aspects of it, not understanding what it takes to build a system that adds value to people's lives, the economic aspects of it, the technical aspects of it, the regulatory aspects of it.
Even the social aspect of it.
That's right. What problems are there that people need solved?
Yeah.
And of course, with Bitcoin, the biggest problem that was there to be solved was the cost of transactions, the high costs. That's something that affects billions of people around the world. Expensive fees on transactions. It's a huge drain on the global economy, and Satoshi Nakamoto created a system that can solve that. But unfortunately, most people didn't understand it. They misunderstood it. They ended up building a cargo cult around it, and now are hoping that all the magical gains that were made over the last decade or so are going to come back if they just keep on doing the same thing. But unfortunately, that's not how it works. This is just a craze that we've been living through, this big collectible craze, you know, that has made people blind to the practical realities of the world and what Satoshi's solution was for. So misunderstanding is so critical in the cargo cult, and it's so critical in the BTC cargo cult. People misunderstand Bitcoin, and they believe that if they just do the same things that they've done for the last decade and a half, all those magical gains are going to come back. And I think that just like the cargo culters on those islands are going to be waiting forever for that cargo to come back, BTC are probably going to be doing the same.
Satoshi built this for everyone. So there is a force that doesn't want everyone to benefit, the small elite.
Yes, with BTC, that's exactly what happens, is that there's a small elite of people out there, the early adopters, or the people who are behind the big exchanges. They don't want Satoshi's vision. They don't want Bitcoin to just become a boring technology that facilitates low-cost transactions. They love this industry full of cryptos with people who don't understand the system, and they are just doing what they're told, buy, sell, hodl. That is benefiting a very small minority of people out there. Guys like Michael Saylor are going to be the ones that benefit from you buying BTC.
From your pain.
From your pain. It's not the average person in the street. There are going to be a few winners, as there have always been in crypto, and there are going to be a very huge amount of losers. So if you don't want to lose, just get out of this game. It's a mug's game.
Yeah, it is. It really is, Mr. G. I mean, come to the BSV side. It's a win-win for everyone here.
Exactly.
You know, about these islanders. Find that it's a very small group of villagers. It's just them, and that's that. That's the community, and this group of people believe in that. And BTC side?
Yeah, so when you think about the people on those islands, they were a community.
Yeah.
And they all together had this belief, still have it to this day.
Yeah.
It's very hard when you're part of a community to buck the community trends.
Yeah, you can't step out of line, Mr. G.
That's right. There's all the peer pressure. You know, the community is going to look at you as an outcast because now you're not wanting to play along with the team. You're actually now causing the game to be broken down because we're all supposed to be in this together.
You're spoiling the fun with your wet blanket. Yeah.
Yes, be a team player. And of course, when you on the other side, when you're part of a community, you see everybody around you, they're all doing something, and you feel left out.
FOMO.
That's right. You start feeling that you might be missing out. Everyone's enjoying themselves, having a great time. In the cargo cults, if you're not part of the rituals, then you're not going to get any of the cargo.
Yeah, there's no way like you'd want to be left out in that, Mr.
Yes.
G. I mean, you'd probably be the only one in that group.
Yes, you're not going to be the guy getting the cargo. Also, you know, if you're not playing along and you're not marching on the sand,
You're an outcast.
that's right.
Yeah.
You're going to get nailed. You're going to get ostracized. You're going to get smacked.
Probably beheaded as
Yes,
well.
beheaded. So this is precisely the same in crypto and in BTC. We have these communities of people who are all in this thing, and there's a huge sense of FOMO. And also when it comes to the communities, they've got there's always slogans and things that everybody chants to the moon.
Laser eyes.
Yes, got my laser eyes.
Diamond hands.
Yes, these sorts of things make sure that the community has this cohesiveness and that there are no people who want to step outside of that community.
Yeah.
And if you do speak against that community, well, then you're going to get attacked because now you're attacking not just an individual, but a group of people who are all vested in something. And you're now coming and spoiling the fun.
Yeah.
So they're going to try everything they can to discredit you.
And Mr. G, it's not even as simple as that, because for them it's more like a belief system. So if you are just against that, you're literally against their belief system.
That's right.
That's very uncomfortable for most people.
Absolutely. They want to kick you out and they end up building an echo chamber. And that echo chamber is just preaching all this information, and that's all these people are listening to.
That's all.
You know, in crypto, you can be sure Michael Saylor is not watching the Centbee show.
He doesn't want to.
Not at all.
Yeah.
He wants only the people who are going to be able to confirm his belief.
Yeah.
So he is going to surround himself with the people who believe the same thing he does, who says the same things he says, because they are all working together in this goal of achieving great wealth by following these rituals. So these communities are so important, and online this is where it really feels it, because you can imagine if you are speaking against BTC, you're going to get trolled. There are many people in BSV, very outspoken people, who will speak out against crypto, and they will just get spammed with posts from people calling them liars, or they'll say things like have fun staying poor.
Because that's what I'm saying, Mr. G. You are literally attacking people's belief system.
Yes.
So they are going to come hard.
Not only their belief, but risking their greatness, their great future. You are now a fly in the ointment, something that's now wrecking their chances. And they believe in this so strongly, and so you become a threat to
Big
them.
time. Threats need to be eliminated.
Yes,
Yeah.
get rid of that threat.
Yeah.
So don't think that if you go to the cargo cult island and you say, guys, this is all rubbish, and you burn down their
Ooh.
planes and stuff.
What? Mr. G, you'll be... They'll make a pit fire out of you right
Yeah,
there, man. 'Cause
exactly.
that's what's happening online, if you check. Like you were saying, I've seen even a couple of trolls trying to attack you just based on...
I've been trolled.
Yeah, some of the clips that we've shared.
Yeah.
Because we literally putting out the honest message of what BSV is. So some people are literally uncomfortable with that, you know?
So you can't mess with the communities. They are making sure that they are fortifying themselves and standing behind each other for strength. But unfortunately, again, you know, just because you've got a community and you follow all the steps and the rules, it doesn't mean that now value is going to spontaneously occur.
And sometimes it's just wiser to follow the birds, than rather follow a lost crowd. Nah, man. G, my honest take on this is that I think this is the best comparison we've ever had. I think this is the most accurate, basically. BTC is a cargo cult because if we were to compare side by side all the characteristics like those islanders have and the BTC is, I think they come close on. They match because even BTC has their little island there. They're on their little island pushing their own cultish ways and stuff. From the real world where BSV is building all these airstrips, these planes, because there's utility there. They're sitting there waiting and hoping that all of this comes to them. And I don't see it happening.
That's right. We've discussed on a show about how Bitcoin BTC is like a religion.
Yeah.
And of course, there are many aspects of BTC that feel like a religion, which we've touched on, you know, this idea of a cult and this community and these religious symbols and all that sort of thing.
Yeah.
You know, this idea that if you just do the rituals, everything that if it worked before, it's going to work again. It just seems so appropriate to look at BTC as a cargo cult.
Like I'm saying, I don't think this is ever like our best comparison to it. Yeah, I think it sticks because everything matches up to the T. Literally. There's no utility.
Yeah.
It's all superficial in their adoption.
Completely misunderstood everything.
Every bit and piece of information that's detailed in the white paper. I think those guys overlooked it.
Yeah.
There's no way we can't look at it as a cargo cult.
Yes, and people might ask now after watching this show, why is Bitcoin SV not a cargo cult? You know, we are very similar to BTC in that we also have things like decentralization and 21 million. We think about Satoshi Nakamoto.
Yep, a prophet.
Yeah, he came and so they look to John Frum, the cargo cult, as this person who has delivered this message. And if they just listen to what he says, the irony though is that they don't listen to Satoshi Nakamoto anymore.
Yeah.
Maybe that's where they've gone wrong.
Yeah.
Is that they are still hoping that John Frum is going to come back and he's going to bring them more goods. If only the people in BTC had listened to Satoshi Nakamoto and done what he said, then maybe they wouldn't be in the situation they are now.
Definitely.
The reason why BSV is not like a cargo cult is because it doesn't rely on just symbols and slogans
or external forces.
The whole idea of BSV is that here is a tool that you need to go and use. This is a real aeroplane sitting on a real track. Now guess what you need to do? You need to learn how to fly that aeroplane.
Yep.
You need to learn how to improve it so it can make it across the ocean
faster,
and it can get there, and you've got to build a nice big hold on the thing, and you can now go out and go and fetch that cargo yourself. That's the difference with Bitcoin SV.
That sounds like a very innovation motivating environment.
That's right.
Yeah.
So instead of just sitting there hodling your useless crypto as in BTC, look at Bitcoin SV as a tool for you to go and build a real aeroplane.
Yeah.
So you can go and fetch wealth and create wealth and generate wealth, real wealth, not hoping, as you say, for external forces, for the gods to come and bless you if you just do the rituals.
Just smoking some hopium.
Yes, you've got to go out and work. The idea of proof of work in Bitcoin is probably the most valuable life lesson you can have. That if you want to achieve anything, you've got to work. And that is what is different from Bitcoin compared to BTC, is that Bitcoin SV relies on you working. If you want to be rich, if you want to be wealthy, if you want to create value, you've got to go out and work for it.
Straight up.
And BSV is that tool. It's not just a grass covered airplane with sticks
and straws.
It is all the tools. It is the hammers and the nails and the metal and the fuel
and the schooling, Mr. G,
and the education. Well, Centbee's playing a part of that. There are so many other educational resources out there. So bsvblockchain.org, this is where you can go and equip yourself. There are educational videos there. There are companies that are leveraging BSV that you can get ideas from. Maybe you can go work at. This is how you're going to be able to prepare yourself and to equip yourself with everything you need to generate real wealth.
Definitely.
And not just something that is, like you said, this belief based on hope and faith that if you just sit back and you just do all the rituals, you're going to get wealthy. Unfortunately, just like those cargo cult islanders, you're going to be sitting on your island hoping and praying for that day for John Frum to come back and rescue you. You're going to be sitting there until the end of time.
Mr. G, there's a saying that goes, you can't knock the hustle. So you can't. You need to put in the work. You can't imposter and hope that you can be rich if you don't put in the work. And it goes back to putting in the work.
That's right. So with BSV blockchain, the difference there is that it's not something that you just have and you don't use. A very important aspect of the BSV blockchain is that it's actually a utility ledger, something that you can use that can reduce the cost of transactions. It is massively scalable, and that means that you don't have to pay high fees to be able to get your transactions into blocks. There are whole numbers of enterprise applications out there and use cases that many companies are exploring to be able to actually leverage that blockchain to provide new use cases and new business models. Also, a very important thing about blockchain is that it wasn't built to be decentralized so that it can be ungovernable. The idea around Bitcoin when it was created was that it complies with all the rules and regulations around transactions. That's why it is a transparent ledger. It's private without being anonymous. The word for that is pseudonymous. Unlike these anonymity coins like Monero, Satoshi Nakamoto understood that if we want to have a blockchain that is regulatory compliant, it needs to follow the rules around traceability. And so that is what BSV delivers. This massively scalable blockchain that can be used in all sorts of enterprise applications. It follows all the rules around regulations and complies with all those rules around payments and that sort of thing. Of course, that is where the economics comes from, because now people can build businesses on top of the blockchain. And by building a business, you can add value to customers, and customers are going to be willing to pay you for that value.
That's how you make real money.
That's how you make real money. You create value. People are going to pay you if you create something that is useful to them. And the BSV blockchain is a useful ledger. The word is utility, to be used, something that you can build on. Now, Centbee, what we've decided is that we want to tackle the payments aspect of Bitcoin. So we want to leverage the low-cost cash transaction aspect of Bitcoin, which is really one of the most fundamental aspects of Bitcoin, is that low-cost digital cash aspect for casual transactions. Centbee users are using Bitcoin on their Centbee wallets to buy groceries or buy electricity or top up their phone with mobile data or something like that.
Or even share cash in chats.
That's right. Split bills, pay your friends, send money to your parents, cross-border. So Centbee is trying to build value on the blockchain that can benefit people's lives. And if we do that, people are going to be willing to pay us a fee for every time they want to do one of those use cases. They want to do something. But you don't have to work on payments. The cool thing about Bitcoin SV is that if you have any idea that needs some kind of low-cost transactional network, and there are many in terms of music or
literally
supply
everything,
chains.
Mr. G, every industry.
There's so many different industries. That's why it's so useful to go to the bsvblockchain.org website and look at those companies, and you're going to see how many different ways you can apply Bitcoin SV. So that's what it is. You're going to want to add some value. You've got a great ledger now, a distributed ledger called Bitcoin SV, the way Satoshi Nakamoto created it. He wasn't just some mystical figure, John Frum, who came from the sky.
Who came from?
Yes, he was a real person with real insight into what can finally make possible a low-cost transactional network that is decentralized, not controlled by any single entity, and yet follows all the rules around payments, and so it can be accepted by governments as a payment tool.
Straight up.
So if you guys are interested in this whole aspect of Bitcoin, if you want to know what you can do with it, if you feel like you're an entrepreneur who really wants to benefit from Bitcoin, then go and check it out. Go and research it. Don't follow the news networks. Don't follow the mainstream networks. Don't even follow the mainstream crypto pundits out there who are going to be selling you a cargo cult dream. Use your wits. Don't think that this is just a magical thing that means that you've just got to sit back and just wait for the money to come in. It's not.
Proof of work.
Yes. Proof of work is what's going to get you where you want to go.
Yeah, straight up, Ms. G. I mean, there's proof in our work.
Yeah.
We're putting it in. So, yeah, Ms. G, we're going to be stepping into this week's socials.
Cool.
Shot. Yeah, our first one comes from Down With Gambling. Yeah, I'm sure this guy was a previous BTCer.
Yes, he's done with gambling.
He's done with gambling.
Yeah.
That's a dope name, actually.
Yeah.
So, yeah, they're saying, love the show. One day people will look back and see these and be like, damn, why didn't I listen to these sooner? So knowledgeable.
Thanks. That's a great comment. We appreciate it. That's what we want to be. We want to be a place where people can come and get some unfiltered truth and some real practical knowledge around Bitcoin. So, Done With Gambling, thanks so much. That was a great comment.
Sure. Thanks, man. Oh, yeah. And our second one comes from the Milkworks. And they're saying, thank you, gents. I learned a lot today. Nobody likes gas, man. I think this was on our previous episode, Bitcoin...
And Ethereum.
Ethereum killed Bitcoin, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's great. Thanks, Milkworks, for coming back. You're one of our regulars, and we always appreciate your comments.
Yeah, he's saying nobody likes gas, man.
Yes.
Your graphics are on point. Wow, great work.
Awesome. Yeah, no, we try and make our shows a little bit interesting to watch.
Yeah.
I guess it can get a bit boring just watching the two of us sitting here. Yeah, and it's fun to do.
Yeah. And also, Mr. G, I have a special shout out to BSV Godfather.
Yes.
Shout out to you, man. BSV Godfather says he loves watching the show. And he says you must check it out on YouTube, guys, and other platforms. So, yeah, we'll also share the artwork that he did for us.
Thanks. Yeah, exactly. He made this cool artwork. Him and his B friend.
Watching the show.
Thanks, BSV Godfather. Also one of our regulars. Great viewer. Thanks so much. We appreciate it.
Shout out to you guys. Thanks for the comments and love, yo.
All right, Kage.
So, G. Oh, yeah, I think we've actually come to the end of our show.
Awesome. Great stuff. Thanks, Kage. It was cool and fun to talk about cargo cults and BTC. Yeah. We don't want to give people the impression that it's an easy win getting into Bitcoin SV, that you can just invest in Bitcoin or Bitcoin SV and you can make money. Yeah. We want you to know that once you've figured this out, there's a tough job ahead for you. You're going to have to go and be innovative. You're going to have to be creative. You're going to have to work hard. And then that's a much more likely way that you're going to get rich. But as our friend Done With Gambling has said, he's done with gambling. He's not interested in speculating on these cryptos because, what happens with gambling is, yes, you may win sometimes, but at the end of the day, the house always wins.
Always, Mr. G.
And gets you. Do you want to be in that game? I'm pretty sure most people don't.
Nobody wants to be a loser.
Yes, nobody wants to be a loser. So if you want to be a winner, hard work, dedication, and understanding. Figure it out. Check out the resources. We'll put some links in the description. And we hope to see you back.